he's ready. Are we ready?
Give me 1 second.
Okay. Keep in mind, I'm looking at my screen, so I can't see messages over to the right. I will check periodically.
Okay, go ahead right now. We're good.
Judge Herndon has just joined us.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Pahrump Valley Chamber of Commerce 2020 Election Candidates Forum. I'm Jenny Sarden, CEO of the Chamber, and your moderator for tonight. The Chamber's mission is to advocate for business and economic development. We have a keen interest in knowing what is happening in government, but it goes much deeper than this. Our members and our communities want to know who their elected officials are and where they stand on issues which might impact them. The Chamber does not have a political action committee. We do not endorse, nor do we financially support any candidate or political party. We are sponsoring these candidate forums because we believe people have a right to know what their candidates for public office say about issues that affect our communities. We provide the forums as a public service. We are privileged and proud to play a role in the democratic process. Our candidate forums allow those candidates seeking public office to express their views openly so the people of the community and our members can understand their positions and make informed voting decisions. We extended invitations to candidates without regard to party affiliation. If they're on the ballot, we invited them. A few candidates had no contact information, which could not be easily found. Others declined or did not respond to our invitations or were unable to attend. We also extended invitations to candidates who were unopposed in the general election. Their views and positions are as important as those who are opposed. Because of time limitations, we did not include all races that are on the ballot. The candidates have been provided the rules and format for the forum in advance. Opening statements will allow candidates to introduce themselves and will not exceed 2 minutes. Candidates will be asked the same questions as their opposition. Responses to questions will be 1 minute. The candidates have been asked to stay focused on the questions only. It is important that we stay on track and within time that is specified. Therefore, all responses are timed. If a candidate exceeds the allotted time, they will be muted and the moderator and panelists will move to the next candidate or question. Time permitting, there will be a Q&A at the end of the forum. These responses will be 1 minute long as well. This will be a civil, professional, and respectful event. Absolutely no disruptions or name calling will be allowed. A reminder to the candidates, please remember that any violation of this code of conduct or forum rules will be cause for removal. And now I'd like to introduce our panelists. Ann Silver, CEO of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce, and Carol Colson, CEO of the Mesquite Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, and thank you for agreeing to take part in this event. Now I'd like to introduce our candidates that are present here tonight. Candidates for Justice of the Supreme Court, Seat D, Ozzie Fumo. Douglas Herndon. Seat B, Christina Pickering. State Assembly District 32, Alexis Hansen. State Assembly District 36, Gregory Hafen. Nye County Commission District 2, Frank Carbone. And Nye County Treasurer, John Wesley Prudhomme. Each candidate has prepared a 2-minute introductory statement. Let's begin with our first candidate for Justice of the Supreme Court, Seat D, Ozzie Fumo.
Thank you very much for having me tonight. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Ozzie Fumo. I am running for the Nevada State Supreme Court, Seat D. I've been a resident of Nevada for the last 45 years. Been a practicing attorney for the last 24 years. I'm the managing partner of Pahrump Fumo Chartered. We are a 6-member law firm, and I'm the managing partner, which means I'm the one who signs the front of the check. I'm the one who worries about payroll. I'm the one who worries about taxes. I'm the one who worries about insurance. I'm the one that makes sure the business is going on. And we have learned a lot through this COVID pandemic. But we've survived. We still maintain all insurance, not only for our employees, but for their children. We pay for it. We don't ask for our employees to pay any of that. And we've in fact hired one person through this pandemic. So we've actually grown a little bit during this. The cream rises to the top, and we've been very successful with what we do. I practice every kind of law that the Supreme Court will see. I practice juvenile, I practice civil, I practiced family law, and I practice my area of expertise is criminal defense work. I'm AV rated, which is the highest rating that Martindale-Hubbell gives to attorneys, both in legal ethics and legal knowledge. And I'm happy to be endorsed by the Nye County District Attorney, Chris Arabia, and others. I've got the marshal's endorsement. I've received the endorsement from teachers, firefighters, veterans, the court staff personnel, the district attorney court staff personnel, and the public defender court staff personnel, SEIU, Local 1107, culinary, bartenders, AFL-CIO, both North and South, and happy to be here tonight. So thank you very much. I teach at the law school. I forgot to mention that. I teach trial advocacy. I teach opening statements, closing arguments, and I teach pretrial litigation. I've spent 2 sessions at the Nevada State Legislature. I've had bills signed into law by both Governors Sisolak and Sandoval. I'm very proud of that, and been able to work across the aisle with many members who are here, Mr. Hafen and Mrs. Hanson, in my term in the legislature. So thank you again for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Fumo. Your time is up.
All right, and now for candidate of Justice Supreme Court, Seat D, Douglas Herndon.
Hi, thank you very much. I appreciate being here as well. It's a pleasure, folks, and I thank you for putting this together. I'm Judge Douglas Herndon. I've been a district court judge for 15 years now. Prior to that, I was in the Clark County District Attorney's Office, where I was the head of the Special Victims Unit. Actually started off there as an appellate law clerk, so I did nothing but involve myself in the cases that the Nevada Supreme Court sees. I reviewed the records of appeal on cases, wrote briefs to the Nevada Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, began arguing cases in front of that court when I was still a law clerk. Then was an attorney for about 13 years, tried about 75 cases, criminal cases mainly, had occasion to try cases in family court, wrote and testified about legislation that was enacted into law as well, and served on a host of statewide and local commissions designed to improve our justice system. I was appointed to the bench in 2005 by Governor Gwynn. Since that time, I've heard a civil and criminal caseload. I've been a chief judge for 11 years, first over the criminal division for 8 years. And then in 2017, I created our homicide case team. So I ran that for 3 years. I've tried about 275 trials as a judge. So I've heard about every type of complicated civil and criminal case that our court system sees, and been involved again with a number of statewide commissions working with the Supreme Court on issues related to our justice systems and access to justice mainly. I have enjoyed being rated as one of the highest rated judges for 15 consecutive years, including last year when I had the highest performance rating in our district court. I enjoy statewide law enforcement support from our elected sheriffs and district attorneys and the organizations they represent, as well as support from a very bipartisan group of state and community leaders, including former Governor Brian Sandoval, former Attorney General Frankie Sue Del Papa, and the retired Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, William Maupin. My wife and I have been here for 30 years. We met in college and raised our 2 daughters here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge Herndon. Your time is up.
Perfect timing. And now for our third candidate for the Supreme Court in Seat B, Christina Pickering.
Thank you very much for inviting me to join you. I am so grateful to be a part of this. I ran and had 2 opponents in the primary election. I'm running for a different seat than the gentleman who just addressed you. I'm in Seat B as in boy. They are competing for Seat D as in dog. And I was really blessed in the primary. I secured more than 50% of the vote. And so I'm on the ballot for November, just running against none of the above. And it has been such a privilege for me to serve as Nevada's Chief Justice this year. We've faced challenges that we have never faced and never thought we would face in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm co-chair of the Access to Justice Commission. I am a member of the Pardons Board, and I have written and worked in all kinds of areas of Nevada law, ranging from water law to criminal law to civil law to tort law to family law. You name it, we see it in the Nevada Supreme Court. By way of personal background, I've lived in Nevada almost all of my life. I grew up in Northern Nevada, graduated from Reno High School, and went away to college and law school, and then came home again. I clerked for a judge up in Reno, Bruce Thompson. The federal building there is named after him. And then I met and married my husband, and he had moved to Las Vegas, so I joined him in Las Vegas, and we practiced law together. I was elected to the Supreme Court in 2008, and I have served on the court since 2009. My husband and I own a small the remnants of an old working ranch up in Nye County in central Nevada near Belmont. And that is where I feel most truly at home. So I kind of count myself as a Nye County resident, although we do make our main home here in Las Vegas. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Pickering. Your time is up.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from our State Assembly District candidate, District 32, Alexis Hansen.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's a privilege and an honor to be before you today. I represent Assembly District 32. I have the honor of sharing a part of Nye County with my colleague, Assemblyman Hafen, and I'm a little jealous of the parts of Nye County that he gets to represent, but I'm glad to have some of Nye County, which is Tonopah, that I have that part of the hammerhead of Nye County. I represent 7 counties of the 17. It's 38,000 square miles. I'm thrilled with my district and proud to represent it. I was a freshman in 2019. I ran for office for the first time in 2018 and was fortunate to be elected, served my first term. And my background is I married my high school sweetheart, Senator Ira Hansen. He held this seat before I did and held it for 4 terms. And then he ran for an open Senate seat. And I decided to throw my hat in and take this on. I've been around the process for a long time. My family's been in Nevada for 5 generations. So my roots are deep and my love of the state. It doesn't matter if you're born here or not. I know we all love the state of Nevada. I had an opportunity to live in Tonopah when I was a child. My dad was the DA of Esmeralda County and then went on to be the DA of Eureka County for over 30 years. And so I've had an opportunity to live in those places. I reside in Sparks now, where I went to high school and have continued to live here and raise our family. We're the parents of 8 children. Number 20 grandchild is on the way. We own a plumbing company and have done that for over 35 years. Started it from scratch with 1 van. We belong to the chamber, the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce. And I'm also a realtor, a licensed Nevada realtor since 2007. I'm a Blue Star mom. And,
Thank you, Assemblywoman Hansen. Your time is up.
Thank you so much. And now we'll hear from State Assembly District 36 candidate Gregory Hafen II.
Thank you, Jenny. And I just want to say that it's an absolute honor to be here with all the different candidates. I think I know every single one of you and talked to you on numerous occasions. So it's an absolute honor. And thank you to the chambers for putting this on and hosting this. My name is Gregory Hafen II. I'm a 5th generation Nevadan. I went to UNLV, got my degree in business management. I have to say that Assemblywoman Hansen and I were tied for the most conservative freshman this last legislative session, and we actually were ranked more conservative than her senator. And so I like to poke every once in a while when I get a chance. I sit on a number of boards throughout our community. In addition to being the current assemblyman for this district, I'm on the Desert View Hospital Board. I'm a member of the chamber, just for full disclosure. I'm not on the board, but I am a member. And I'm also on the Great Basin College Foundation Board out here. In addition to that, I've been endorsed with an A+ rating by the NRA, the Nevada Firearms Coalition, the Nevada Realtors, Nevada Right to Life, as well as a number of others. And I also want to mention that I'm also on the Nye County's newly formed chapter for the Nevada Right to Life. We've had a lot of great individuals that have stepped up to help form that and put that on. Prior to COVID, we were doing some great fundraising and a lot of good that's going on in the community. And again, I just want to say thank you for hosting this.
You're welcome. Thank you. And now we'll hear from Nye County Commission District 2, Frank Carbone.
After I unmute myself. Again, my name is Frank Carbone, and again, I thank you guys for allowing us to be here, and really appreciate being with amongst these great people that are here. Just a little bit of history myself. Was born out in Brooklyn, New York. Came out to California through the military, through the Air Force. I spent 4 years with the Air Force, spent my time over Vietnam and a few other nice places. So I had some great times as a young man. We moved out here to from Oklahoma after I was delivering the B-2 bomber to Whiteman Air Force Base. So I've had a little bit of a career in the military as well as with Northrop Grumman for 30 years. Again, a little bit of history of myself. I've been married for 47 years to the same woman, and I love her still today. I have one child here. I have one boy and 2 grandsons. The best thing about that was they dragged me out here. I would have never came out to Pahrump until they told me how nice it was with all the land. But I told them, gosh, you got to really know, when I was stationed in Victorville, I came through here many times, so I know what it looked like back in the 70s. So yeah, a little bit of history as well. I was a prior commissioner. In 2012, I was elected, and I was through 2016. A lot of different things have gone on in our life here in Pahrump. Right now, I'm working with my wife, working with the animal shelter here, which is the county shelter, and we have a contract with the shelter to work with the animals. And it's been really, really great to do that. You get to meet a lot of people, you get to understand how the county works. Knowing that I've been out there before with the people and understanding the processes, I've helped a lot of people with their animals. So it's really nice to know that you can do things like that. As a commissioner, I had an open door policy. Whoever wanted to come talk and get things done, that was the way to do it. Just come, don't even make an appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Carbone. Your time is up.
Thank you. And finally, our Nye County Treasurer, John Wesley Prudhomme.
Last but not least, once again, I'm John Wesley Prudhomme. I was appointed to the Office of Treasurer in 2019. And so I've been in the office for almost 2 years now, and we've had huge changes during that period of time. Great opportunities to be able to restructure the department so that it works better within the county. A little bit about me, my background. I actually have a professional theater training certificate, was a professional actor for many years in California and actually throughout many of the states where we ended up working. But I have a bachelor's degree in history with a focus in military history. And I'm currently finishing up my master's degree, master's in business administration with a focus in finance, or concentration in finance. Background business-wise, I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur. I've opened many corporations that have been successful over the years. I am a licensed real estate broker in California and Nevada. I'm a licensed mortgage loan originator in California and Nevada, and soon to be in Arizona. I'm a licensed business broker in Nevada, and pretty much focus on mergers and acquisitions. And that's one of the reasons why I was interested in this position of treasurer. I looked at all the other positions that were available back in 2018, and this one fit very, very well with my financial knowledge and background in building businesses and evaluating P&Ls and determining valuations. So I too am honored to be here with the other candidates, and I appreciate the opportunity that the Chamber has offered for people to get to know me a little bit better. I too have an open door policy. In fact, I had another candidate show up today and sat down and chatted with him for a little while about his concerns about the future and how I might be able to help Nye County move into a more open environment for the public to be able to see transparency.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Perfect timing. Good job, Donna. Well, Well, now we'll kick off the fun part, the questions. And I get to be the lucky person to kick this off with the very first question. The first question will go to candidates for the Justice of the Supreme Court, Seat D, Ozzie Fumo. Mr. Fumo, what is the most significant challenge facing the court for which you are running, and how can that challenge be addressed?
I think the most significant challenge is going to be equal access to justice and fairness under the law. I spent the last 24 years fighting for fairness and equity under the law, defending the Nevada State Constitution and the United States Constitution. When I was at the legislature, Adam Laxalt, the Attorney General, had come in to testify, not him, but one of his underlings, and was talking about how much they were how hard they were working and how many cases they had. You know, the American Bar Association says each attorney should handle about 100 cases. When I asked him how many cases they handle per attorney, it was less than 50. The Public Defender's Office handles over 350 cases per attorney. And so I asked him, he said, well, the reason is because our cases are more complex. And I asked him, do they get less complex when the public defender picks them up to defend them? And obviously the answer is no. So I think equal access to fairness and justice is one of the things we need to work on in this state. And I think the COVID pandemic has taught us all about Zoom and teleconferencing, and that's going to be the wave of the future. I teach at the law school and I teach my students, we talk about it. For the last year, we've been
Thank you, Judge Fumo. Your time is up.
We're pretty strict with that timer. Thank you so much. And now the same question for candidate Douglas Herndon. Mr. Herndon, what is the most significant challenge facing the court for which you are running, and how can that challenge be addressed?
So Justice Pickering is going to be in a better position to answer this than any of us, since she's the Chief Justice of the court. But I will tell you from my perspective, and this would include the trial court level as well as the appellate courts, time to disposition, that is, how quickly are people seeing their cases coming to some type of resolution, is an ongoing problem. It's been exacerbated, particularly at the trial court level, by the COVID shutdown and our inability to conduct trials. I think we've done a very good job as a court system of trying to work around that. But I've always been very proactive as a chief judge and over my own caseload of increasing efficiencies without sacrificing fairness. And I would like to see a lot more prioritizing of hearing cases and getting decisions done timely versus getting more involved in legislation or management of court rules around the state.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And you did it before the clock ran out. Good for you.
Brian.
And the same question, please, to Seat B candidate Christina Pickering.
Thank you. I believe, and as Chief Justice, the largest challenge is keeping the docket moving and ensuring that cases are fully and fairly heard, but timely disposed of. We received a true gift from the voters in 2014 when they approved the creation of the Court of Appeals, and we are in their debt, and that has made a difference and has helped. We're not there yet, but we were the busiest court in the country with the largest number of cases per justice of any appellate court in the country. And we are very grateful to the voters for the vote of confidence of creating the Court of Appeals. It took it a while to get going and get the rules going, but it has really helped. So I hope I end before the alarm goes off. That's my morning alarm clock. So I jump every time I hear it.
You did it.
The next question goes to candidate for State Assembly District 32, Alexis Hansen. Assemblywoman Hansen, how do you plan to involve constituents in the decision-making process in the state legislature?
You know, I think we could all probably attest to this. We're really fortunate that I think the public is very attuned to letting us know how they feel about legislation or just current events in general. And so pre-COVID in the 2019 session, constituents were very diligent. I want to say a thank you to the Legislative Council Bureau. They have a website that the constituents are able to log on to, watch meetings, and they can give their feedback. And all of us legislators get that individual feedback, and then they can even break it down by districts. During the special session, though, with the COVID restrictions, I do have some concerns that the public and my constituents have a harder time being engaged in the process, testifying over the telephone at crazy hours of the night. and not knowing what we're looking at going into the next session in 2021. I do have concerns about that. I'm hoping we can be open and do business as usual.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Hanson. Your time is up.
Thank you.
This question also goes to candidate for State Assembly 36, Gregory Hafen. How do you plan to involve constituents in the decision-making process in the state legislature?
I appreciate the question. Thank you very much. And I have to agree with Assemblywoman Hanson on this. There are concerns moving forward with the COVID. People are very engaged, especially in Nye County. People enjoy participating and providing their feedback. One of the things that I've been able to do, and I have to thank staff, constituent services, Tracy, Eric, Omar, they're great at helping us get the input from the communities and helping us track where everybody stands on things. As our commissioner and treasurer stated, I have an open door policy. My door actually stays open when I'm having meetings. I don't even close the door. If you want to come in, come in. Call me, text me, shoot me an email. I'm always available. And I have to thank a couple people on here that during those 2 a.m. meetings during the special session answered their cell phones and joined us to participate.
Thank you, Assemblyman Hanson. Your time is up.
I live to please. All right, it's my turn now. Question for Nye County Commissioner District 2 candidate Frank Pahrump. How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in our county?
Well, again, it was great to know when I was a commissioner that we had a lot of people in the audience. So it was a lot. That's one of the best ways of getting communications firsthand. The second is we also do it on the TV, so everybody gets to see it on television. So which is a great thing. So we have the media people here doing it. We also have town halls. I'll be calling town halls whenever I feel that it's time to get the people involved in what's going on in the county, as well as within my district. It's really hard today with this COVID thing as a problem. And I learned that from working at the shelter, because people are hurting and they don't know how to get a hold of people to do things. So having yourself out there in the public, which is what you got to be, next in the stores or wherever you have to be at, just so people know who you are, introduce yourself, shake hands or elbows, whichever you can do today. And that's how you get people involved in what's going on in the county. And that's how you get decisions made. You got to make sure you talk to the people to help you with the other commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Carbone. Your time is up.
Now for Nye County Treasurer candidate John Wesley Prudhomme. Mr. Prudhomme, what are the most important issues facing the Nye County Treasurer, and how do you plan to address them?
I think the biggest hurdle right at the moment that we're working to get through is training. When I came to the office, we changed out some of the personnel, and they actually went to other departments that I think will work out better with their particular skill sets. But the people that remained in the department, they had very kind of rudimentary skill sets, and it worked out well for the high volume, taking in payments for taxes, and in many cases doing mailings, things like that. But we really need to move them up to a higher level as far as skill sets. And what I mean by that is the ability to actually be able to go through and analyze numbers. For people in this business or any financial business, the numbers are like a story. And if you're not financially literate, it makes it virtually impossible to be able to move into places like the 21st century.
Thank you, Treasurer Prudhomme. Your time is up.
Back to the candidates for Justice of the Supreme Court, Seat D. Mr. Fumo, under what circumstances could the state constitution be interpreted differently from an identically worded provision in the federal constitution?
So the federal constitution and the state constitution, if they're worded exactly the same, as a Supreme Court justice, you're applying the facts of a case to the applicable law. First question to add is, what is the rule of law? And you apply the facts to that case. So if you have an exactly same worded Constitution federally as you do in the state. The only way you would come out with a different outcome would be distinguishing facts of the case. So if you had case law that was different facts in the federal system compared to what you had in the state, then that would be the only way I could see you come out with a different outcome in a state case. But if being all things being equal, if they're exactly worded the same, it's like a mathematical equation. You put the numbers in, you should get the exact same number out. So I don't see, it would be a rare circumstance, and it would only be the distinguishing facts that would make a different outcome, in my opinion. But the two constitutions aren't exactly the same. You know, Nevada Constitution was drafted almost 90 years after the federal Constitution, and we have things in ours that are different. We have mining in the Nevada State Constitution, which we don't have in the federal.
Thank you, Judge Fumo. Your time is up.
Same question to Judge Herndon. Under what circumstances could the state constitution be interpreted differently from an identically worded provision in the federal constitution?
So I'll apologize up front because I don't know that that's an appropriate question to be answered. As you can imagine, people have a comfort level that the courts will decide issues as they're brought to them, that we don't express opinions about issues beforehand. And we actually have ethical obligations that prohibit us from commenting publicly about pending cases or issues that could come before the court. That being said, the federal Constitution, the United States Constitution, is actually a very short document establishing the structure of government. It's only been amended about 17 times since 1791. State constitutions, on the other hand, are oftentimes very detailed and wordy, and they're about limiting powers. But all law starts with a presumption of validity, and you try and read things in harmony with each other. So only in rare occasions when something is directly in conflict should there be some give there, but it's something that has to depend on the facts and law in a particular case and only decided when it's brought up before the court.
And now seat B candidate Christina Pickering. Same question. Under what circumstances could the state constitution be interpreted differently from an identically worded provision in the federal constitution?
There are instances in which that has occurred. Interpreting constitutional text, you try to determine what the words meant and what the provisions meant at the time they were enacted, and you look to that. There are instances where Nevada has interpreted its constitution, same provision, differently from the way the US Supreme Court has interpreted the federal constitution. There was one case that I worked on where Nevada had decided to go a different path in the automobile search warrant context. And they went down that path separate from the US Constitution and the US law, and then decided to retreat and harmonize the Nevada provision with the US provision. And in the main, the two match up. And I agree with my colleagues that factual differences usually account for different outcomes. But there have been instances where Nevada has said our policies differ, and we get
Judge Pickering, your time is up.
Thank you. All right, the next question is for the candidates for State Assembly District 32. Ms. Hanson, there's been a lot of controversy about the role of incentives in development. Considering the turmoil of the economy today, what role should taxpayer money play to support private sector development, assuming these developments cannot be otherwise achieved?
I'm not a huge fan of the incentives. I sometimes feel like we're picking winners and losers in the private sector. I saw that happen in my own hometown when a downtown theater got redevelopment money, and it put the privately owned little Green Beret theaters out of business. So it's a real sticky wicket. Maybe when I'm more attuned to thinking about it seriously is when you need to prime the pump. In 2008 to 14, we saw a devastation in our economy in the Great Recession. And unfortunately, we could be looking at that again. 2021 session, I think, is going to be a financial session. So I don't rule it out, but I do think if we use it, we have to have metrics in place for measurement of what they're doing, how they're using the money. Again, I tread really carefully there, and really upfront. I'm not a huge fan.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. Your time is up.
The same question also goes to candidate for State Assembly 36, Gregory Hafen. Assemblyman Hafen, what role should taxpayer money play to support private sector development, assuming these developments could not otherwise be achieved?
Thank you. And I too am hesitant to support that. Obviously, every bill is unique. I always enter every bill with an open mind to evaluate it on its own merit. I think right now, though, our main priority is to help the businesses that are still there, the ones that haven't shut down because of COVID and because of our governor's shutdown. The 2019 legislative session was actually extremely unfriendly to business. It was very partisan on a lot of the bills, and we just had a ruling that said that one of the tax hikes was deemed unconstitutional. And I have a feeling that we'll have 3 of the members on here tonight that will be hearing that in the future, or at least 2 of them. And so I think that we really need to change direction and head back towards a more business-friendly environment, first and foremost, before we start doing incentives for
Assemblyman Hafen, your time is up.
Thank you.
Next question to Nye County Commission District 2 candidate Frank Carboni. If someone came to you with a proposal to build a new piece of public infrastructure in our county, such as a road, bridge, etc., how would you evaluate whether that project was worth implementing?
Again, this is a tough question. And, we do have a roads commission already that looks at everything for roads, and it's an open board, an actually open committee where people can come in and make suggestions on what road conditions and what road things they need to be fixed, or what roads need to be brought into the county's coffers to be fixed and repaired, or even brought into for the first time. If somebody had something that was looking like it would be a great thing for the public, specifically the infrastructure around some of the portions of the county up north where there is bridges and so on and so forth, we'd have to agendize that and look at it, bring it into a committee, have a committee look at it. It could be an ad hoc committee, or it could be a sanctioned committee. But each one of these items that's brought forth to one of the commissioners gets looked at by the actual county administrative staff, and they take that out and farm it out to the people who look at it. It gets agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Carboni. Your time is up.
Now it's your turn, Nye County Treasurer candidate John Wesley Prudhomme. Mr. Prudhomme, what should the county do to balance spending and revenues in the coming 4 years?
Well, I think one of the most important things is projecting and determining what is reasonable for the future based on what we're going through. And I think the COVID, the repercussions of the shutdowns from COVID are going to be affecting us for months, if not years, into the future. And it makes it very, very difficult for our comptroller and also for our Board of County Commissioners to be able to make a reasonable determination of what a reasonable budget is going to be. And what I try to do is I try to provide additional information on in areas that they may not be aware of. Obviously, there are areas in our economy that are hurting, but there are also areas in our economy that are very, very successful during this period of time. And it's very, very different than the crisis of 2008, 2009, and that the Fed is approaching liquidity from a completely different standpoint, that it took them years in the last.
Treasurer Prudhomme, your time is up.
The next question will go to candidates for Justice of the Supreme Court, Seat D. Let's start with Ozzie Fumo. Assemblyman Fumo, have you ever had to support a legal position that was contrary to your own moral beliefs?
Let me answer that question this way. In my years as a trial attorney, as an advocate, as a 2-term legislator, and as a law professor, one thing I've learned is that it's about integrity. And if you have it, nothing else matters. And if you don't have it, nothing else matters. As a justice of the Supreme Court, or any person who walks into a room, I tell this to my students all the time, any juror that walks in, everybody walks in with their own preconceived biases and or prejudices. And you're going to have your own beliefs as a member of the court. But your job isn't to legislate from the bench. So when you apply the facts to the law of a case and you make a determination, sometimes the determination may not be what you personally feel or would like, but you have to rule the way the law and the facts present themselves. So yes, it's happened in the past, and I'm sure it will happen in the future.
Thank you. The same question to Judge Herndon. Have you ever had to support a legal position that was contrary to your moral beliefs?
Absolutely, and it's less about the morality of the decision and more about the law. I agree with Mr. Fumo that integrity is important, but I also think experience is important as a judge. Any experienced good judge will have had multiple occasions, if they're doing their job right, where they've had to either grant or deny a motion, dismiss or declined to dismiss a case, decide whether to send somebody to prison in a situation where they disagreed with the decision that they were making, but felt that compelled to do it as mandatorily provided for under the law. And it's not our job to legislate from the bench. It's not our job to legislate off the bench. You're a judge 24/7, and you have to respect and follow the law on all occasions. And it's very important to be independent and have the experience to understand how to do that, even though you may personally disagree with the decisions that you have to make.
Thank you. Let me pose the same question to Seat B candidate, Chief Justice Christina Pickering. Have you ever had to support a legal position that was contrary to your moral beliefs?
I would agree with the answers the other candidates have given and add this. Everyone who comes to the Nevada Supreme Court is entitled to a neutral review and application of the law as the law is written. And we will get cases that have horrifying facts where people have done unspeakably cruel things to others and to children, especially child sexual abuse or child murder cases. And I recall when I first came on the court, really working hard to ensure that I could be objective and neutral, notwithstanding the heinousness of the crime that had been committed that I was reviewing. The constitutional rights that are asserted deserve a neutral and dispassionate application to the cases that come before us, and everybody's entitled to a fair hearing. So that's not quite responsive, but it builds on what the other candidates have said. And I think we all try very, very hard to apply the law.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Pickering.
Okay, this question is for candidates for State Assembly District 32. Ms. Hanson, cities face many challenges when repairing and updating critical infrastructure such as drinking water and sewer systems. Do you believe that it is part of the state's obligation to help fund critical local infrastructure?
I've been mulling this one over. Thank you for sending the questions over ahead of time. Infrastructure is a financially very complicated issue. It involves federal money, state money, local municipalities. And so on the face of it, yes, I certainly, I would think so, but yet I don't know on a state level to what degree the money we have. There is certainly a time when an investment when we have matching funds, it's almost like putting into your 401k, you got to pace them out and then you get some matching funds. And it makes sense when we have those kind of programs that we can participate in as a state. And sometimes we've been remiss in that. And I would like to know more. I don't sit on any money committees, but just a cursory view, I think sometimes we leave money on the table. As far as the municipalities and the local governments go, I think we're all in for some very things.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Hanson.
This same question also goes to candidate for State Assembly 36, Gregory Hafen. Mr. Hafen, do you believe that it is part of the state's obligation to help fund critical local infrastructure?
Thank you, Jenny. So as most of you already know, I actually run a small water and sewer company, which is privately held but regulated by the state. And I look at it as the critical aspect, especially right now during this COVID pandemic, as our high-speed internet. And I think that companies like Valley Communications, Cox Communications, CenturyLink have really done a great job of using private money to expand broadband. Now, I do know that there was some federal money that was used to expand into a lot of the rural areas. And again, I agree with my colleague, Swingle Hansen, that when we can take state dollars and use it and leverage it to gain more federal money, we are much better off. Whether it's with critical infrastructure through roads or what have you, I think that that's really important. And that was actually one of the reasons during these last special sessions.
Thank you, Assemblyman Hazen. Thank you.
Next question is for Nye County Commission District 2 candidate Frank Carboni. Sir, if elected, what 3 steps would you take to put Nye County on firmer financial footing?
That's a pretty open question. Again, I think the assemblymen and women has made this very clear that we need to invest in our businesses. I mean, we definitely have to move forward and help out the businesses that have been hurt through this pandemic that's been going on. And I know that's kind of a cliche now that everybody's using the pandemic to say we got to do things. But before the pandemic, we had businesses that were failing as well that we needed to help. Again, economic development is something we need to do. We need to do more tourism. I was also a big supporter of Increta, if anybody remembers what that is. Something the county started and turned it back over to some of the folks over there at the chamber. I mean, those are the things we need to continue to work on. We need events that need to happen here. I mean, we're trying to build a center over at the fairgrounds. We need to make that a big event area where we can bring more economic development from that too. I mean, those events can bring money into the county, and also work with the rest of the county as well, because there's a lot of places up in. Sorry.
Thank you, Commissioner Carboni. Your time is up.
This next question is for Nye County Treasurer candidate John Wesley Prudhomme. Mr. Prudhomme, as treasurer, you will not create financial policy, but you will see how funds are allocated. If you see an opportunity to spend money more efficiently, how will you propose your ideas to the Nye County Commission?
Well, I guess the good example is how I've been working with the Nye County Commissioners up until this point over the last almost 2 years. And that's, I take a look and see what is on the agenda for the next Board of County Commissioners meeting a number of days beforehand, and then go through each item and evaluate the backup for each item and determine where it is that I can offer my background and experience in finance to be able to help that. I didn't get a lot of chance to talk about the depth of my financial background in finance, but it is very, very deep. Worked in secondary marketing. Like I said, I do mergers and acquisitions as well. And when I go through and see numbers that don't happen to add up or don't seem to add up, or see numbers in the news that might be used as references for public policy, I'll bring that to light to the commissioners and also.
Thank you, Treasurer Prudhomme.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the initial questions. Luckily, we have time for some Q&A right now. And so I will share a few questions that we have right now. We're going to start with the Justice of the Supreme Court, and this question is for all 3 of you. We'll start with Mr. Fumo. What do you perceive as the greatest obstacle to justice, if any?
What I perceive now, and anybody who knows me in the past through my career, whether it's being practicing attorney or at the legislature, one thing I always argue about while I'm beating the drum for justice is equal access to justice. One of the slogans I had while I was up there is, to the poor, bail means jail, but to the rich, clout means you're out. We didn't have a system before of equal access to the courts, and that's slowly starting to change. You know, whether you're rich or poor, no matter what your party affiliation, your color, race, creed, you all want the same thing when you appear before a justice or any judge. You want fairness, you want equality, you want to be treated with dignity and respect. And that's why one of my campaign slogans is, you'll know it's fair if Fumo is there.
Awesome, thank you. And Mr. Herndon, your turn. What do you perceive as the greatest obstacle to justice, if any?
Thank you. I didn't get unmuted there. I didn't see the screen come up. I apologize. So this is something that Mr. Fumo and I agree upon, access to justice. It's something I've worked on for 15 years as a judge. We created our Civil Access to Justice Commission back in 2006, right after I got appointed in 2005, designed to find ways to effectively provide good legal representation to folks that couldn't afford it in the civil arena. We've created our self-help center. We've improved our pro bono project to get attorneys for folks that need them, whether it's in the civil side of things or even down in family court, even for children. On the criminal side of things, it's effective representation. Everybody's going to get an attorney appointed, but that doesn't always mean it's going to be an effective attorney that isn't saddled with enormous caseload. So I've also been on our state's Indigent Defense Commission for many years, particularly trying to improve access to justice in the rural communities for folks that are charged with crimes. I worked with a number of the justices on all these issues and look forward to continuing to do so.
Thank you.
Great timing. Thank you, Judge Herndon.
Ms. Pickering, what do you perceive as the greatest obstacle to justice, if any?
I think you're getting 3 in a row. Access to justice is the key, ensuring that people who have cases that are before the courts have lawyers to represent them and to help them. As I mentioned at the outset, I co-chair the Nevada Access to Justice Commission, and the needs on the civil side are acute during the COVID pandemic. You just pick up a newspaper every day and you see all of the things that people are out of work, they're facing evictions, the landlords who own the homes are not able to pay their mortgages. This society has placed demands on the legal system, and I think we're going to have to weather through that storm. So I think going forward, it's going to be access to justice and ensuring that people get their day in court safely and fairly and have their disputes resolved.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
This will be a fun question. COVID-19 is squeezing resources and causing an abrupt fall in revenue, largely because of a sharp decrease in tax funds gained through economic activity, including gaming, hotel rooms, and the sales of products. Projected revenue could be cut in half in some cases. The latest indicator shows gaming revenue was down nearly 40% in March compared to last year. In short, this could be the largest budget deficit the state of Nevada has ever had. So the question is, and this is to our 2 Assembly state candidates. We'll begin with Ms. Hanson. Will you vote for new tax hikes?
You know, I'm not dodging the question. I'm a businesswoman and I have to look at the financials before I make decisions in a business, whether I raise prices or I cut, staff. So we're going to have to look at that come the next session if I have the honor of being reelected again next week. I can tell you during the special session, the budget cuts that we had to do. Now, I don't know that we needed to had to do them all. Some of the Republican senators had some very, they had different numbers and they put forth a plan. But that being said, we had to make some difficult choices, and that's not lost on me. So I will see where we stand. I'm not a fan of raising taxes in order to make government efficient. I feel that we need to streamline where we can, make cuts where we can, which I know we've done already. And I hope we can find some other revenue streams.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Hanson.
All right, Mr. Hafen, same question to you. Will you vote for new tax hikes?
Thank you, Jenny. And no, I don't see a reason. As I stated earlier, our businesses are struggling right now. And I'm going to respectfully disagree with the way the question was posed. One of my other hats is I sit on the Nevada Taxpayer Association board, and we actually just got some really rough numbers, so don't hold me to these, but we're actually seeing very encouraging signs of our economy coming back a lot quicker than we originally projected. Right now, today, we're only down 15% from our pre-pandemic normal. We were down 45% at the beginning, but we're really seeing a really rapid recovery, which the predictions were that we'd be a lot longer than that. Now, I will say that the rooms are not filling up like they used to be. The average rates are down. They're down 25% on the dollar figures, and the occupancy is down quite a bit. So there's
Thank
still
you,
a little bit
Assemblyman
there.
Hanson. Your time is up.
Thank you.
All right, this question is for County Commissioner Mr. Pahrump. Incentives in development, what role should taxpayer money play to support private sector development, assuming these developments cannot be achieved otherwise? And this, of course, is on the county level.
Yeah, exactly. If you remember, the two assembly people just said the same thing, Gregory, and the rest of the guys said the same thing, Assembly Hanson. I don't believe in taking taxpayer dollars and trying to pick a winner. It's not fair. It's not right. We should pay more attention to what we need to do with our local businesses throughout the county and help them get back on their feet if that's what we need to do. I don't believe in using taxpayer money for a winner. Don't see it. So the answer is no.
Thank you. And then this question is for County Treasurer, Mr. Pahrump. How do you assure transparency in the handling of taxpayer dollars?
Well, we do a report on a monthly basis, and when I came to the office, that report actually hadn't been done in about 18 months. But it is now done on time, and it's the Treasurer's Report and Bank Reconciliation Report. And that provides transparency into money in, money out.
All right, quick, easy questions. We like them like that. Okay, so now here comes your think quick on your feet moment, ladies and gentlemen. So here's your question, and each one of you are to answer this. Who is guilty of harassment? Wile E. Coyote or the Roadrunner? Mr. Fumo, you're first.
You know, that could be a case that could appear before me at one time. So I think the canons of ethics would require me to not answer the question at this time.
All right, Mr. Herdon.
So I would say the semantics are important. Your question is worded as guilty, which means somebody's been accused of a crime. And I think most reasonable jurors would default to convicting the coyote over the poor little bird that's getting chased around all the time. So I'm going to go with Wile E. Coyote.
And you, Ms. Pickering?
Yeah, the coyote all day long.
Mr. Hanson, or Miss Hanson, I'm sorry.
The coyote, of course. Anybody who has cats or chickens or other kind of livestock that are small in northern Nevada knows exactly who's the guilty party. And this is why I don't serve a court. Although I do feel like I practice family law all the time.
Mr. Hafen.
Well, so you have to ask the millennial a question about historic cartoon figures, and I'm going to have to respectfully say I just don't know enough about all of these historic cartoons. They were way before my time.
Well, youngster, I'll show you the cartoon next week. All right, Mr. Carboni.
Well, obviously, the question has been answered several times, and we all know it's the coyote. Anytime you're shooting cannonballs and all kinds of artillery at this little poor bird, it's kind of like, damn it, I didn't get that sucker. I'll get him again some other time. But yeah, the coyote.
And last but not least, Mr. Verdon.
Well, you know, it's really kind of interesting that being in the rural areas here, we do actually have both coyotes and roadrunners. And they never seem to be around at the same time for some reason. I don't know why. But I would say that the coyote, unfortunately, has a really bad rep. People's dogs disappear, cats disappear. And of course, the coyote is blamed. But you just never know what that roadrunner's doing.
All righty. I have another question for you, ladies and gentlemen. Another quick think on your feet moment. Santa's elves ought to be paid minimum wage? Yes or no? We'll start with Mr. Fumo.
Those elves do work around the clock 24/7, so I think they should be paid better than minimum wage, and I think at a level of probably $15 per hour. Or the equivalent in toys that they can keep for themselves.
Mr. Bernard?
There we go. Sorry. Yeah, I would definitely be in favor of a wage hike for the elves. They work harder than any individuals in any industry at any time of year that I'm aware of. Now, there may be some child labor laws at issue as well, guys, so it may be that we need to take them out of that environment and protect them a little better, but wage hike for sure.
All righty. And Ms. Pickering?
Well, I have to say that the Nevada Constitution guarantees the elves a minimum wage. And so at least when they're working in Nevada, it's assured that they will receive their due.
Ms. Hanson?
Okay, so when they're flying over Nevada, as the Chief Justice has said, they're going to be paid minimum wage, but I'm sure there needs to be some overtime if they're working past those hours. But I'm also concerned about, we haven't talked about the reindeer. Is there any sort of compensation for them?
Oh, Santa. I'm sure he's underpaid. We're going to switch it up a little bit here. Now, we're going to ask the question, what came first, the chicken or the egg, Mr. Hafen?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take it. Mr.
Can I have a
Buckland?
side of bacon?
Yeah, my sentiments exactly. It's a yes.
Just have the bacon, right?
One hand or the other, right?
And Mr. Bourdon.
What a dilemma. I'm the last person, and I've got a chicken and the egg question. I guess. Yes, that's a third yes.
All right, awesome. Thank you for playing along. I know it was an impromptu question, but we wanted people to see that you people have personalities and you're not all business. You're human beings with feelings and you have a sense of humor, and we want people to see that side of you as well. Well, we've concluded our forum for tonight, and on behalf of the Pahrump Valley Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank the candidates for their participation in this forum and helping to provide voters with important and timely information. I also want to thank Ann Silver, CEO of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce, and Carol Colson, CEO of the Mesquite Chamber of Commerce, for giving so generously of their time to support our unified efforts to provide information to all our members and to the public so that they can make informed decisions in this election. Thomas Jefferson, former US president and founding father of the US, once said, "We do not have government by the majority. We have government by the majority who participate." Good night, everyone. And remember, go vote.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks.